The Poco F4 GT is actually a pretty sweet package, but I'm Rio Gion and welcome to the channel. This phone packs the top of the line Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which is pretty awesome, which explains why lots of videos call it a gaming monster. There's the pop-up side buttons, which I thought it was pretty freaking cool, but I don't think it's unique because I think Black Shark or someone done this before. I think Black Shark is also from Xiaomi, so this could be a OnePlus situation where they use the same shell and just make it a little bit different and slap a new name on it, you know, kind of like, yeah, you can copy my homework, but you just gotta make it a little bit different, you know. So whichever the case, for 599 euros, you get 128 gigs or 699 euros if you can swing for the 256 gig. Sadly, it doesn't have micro SD expansion, so this is pretty much a OnePlus phone. That kind of sucks because if it does have micro SD, then I think this phone is a home run. Also, it doesn't have a headphone jack, which also make it more like a OnePlus phone. The pop-up buttons are cool, but if it was up to me, I would trade those buttons for micro SD in a heartbeat. But I do know that they have the X4 Pro, which does have micro SD expansion and a headphone jack, but sadly that's the Snapdragon 695, which is weaker than the Snapdragon 860, which means it's going to be weaker than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. But there's a video by a channel called Geeker1 that tells the truth about the 8 Gen 1 chip and how badly it overheats. So I think the 860 is most likely the way to go because it's a variation of the 855, I think, unless it's not. Then I'm sure someone in the comments down below will gladly tell me how wrong I am. In any case, if this is true, then honestly, for this phone it seems like you might be better off just getting the X3 Pro because it does have the Snapdragon 860. Moving back to the F4, you do get a 6.67 inch AMOLED display, which is really good because it's like those Samsung display instead of the LCD screen. For those that are into good looking displays and on a budget, I think this phone is the way to go. If you swing for the 256 gig, you also get 12 gigs of RAM, so I'm not sure if it matters for you guys, but I figured I'd mention it if it's something that's worth mentioning. The fingerprint scanner is on the side instead of in the display, which I think it's great because those are really fast and accurate, while the in-display ones are either not as fast, or if they are fast, they're not as accurate. So I think, at least from making this video, the technology is just not there yet. The storage is also UFS 3.1. I figured I mentioned this because the Poco X4 Pro has UFS 2.2 storage, so that speed is slower than this one. Then again, the new S23 Ultra has the UFS 4.0, which is rumored to be even faster. If you want to save money and hold out for a Samsung phone, you could go for the S23 Ultra, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be expensive. For the camera specs, I have links below for you to check out the specs if you want to look at numbers on a sheet, but from watching sample videos and photos, it seems pretty okay. I don't think this phone is marketed for a photographer, so they don't really make the camera the best. Like, it's something that's there if you want to take a photo, post it on social media, and take some videos of your pet. I think it's pretty much it, but honestly, I think it's good enough for most people in the market. Personally, I think it's fine because I really want good picture quality or video quality. I would use a dedicated camera, and I know someone will tell me if I want a gaming device I should get a dedicated gaming console, and for the person that say that, I would say you are correct. But if you're someone who wants a little bit of everything, I would say the camera here is not that bad. It's certainly not a potato camera, so you should be able to use a camera to do most things in your everyday life. In terms of the design of the phone on the front, honestly, it looks like any other phone. Like, I seen a picture of a guy doing the thumbnail for this particular phone, like with like the phone on his hands. He was holding it with the screen in front, and honestly, that can literally be any phone, and you cannot tell a difference what that is. And honestly, a lot of these phones kind of blend in when you look at the screen on the front. Like, if you take this one and then you take like a Samsung phone and then you take like a one, well, not a OnePlus because they put the camera towards the left or the right. But a lot of the phones that have the punch hole in the middle, like you can take this and the S20 FE and you put them side by side, only looking at the screen on the front, like can't tell a difference. I honestly do not think you can tell a difference. Unless you can, then comment down below and tell me how wrong I am. But I don't think you can. And then on the back, for a gaming phone, unless you get the bright yellow version, it doesn't look like that much of a gaming device. If you really want to go for like a more stealth look, get the black version. That is the most stealth looking out of the three. The gray version is like a gray area, which makes sense for the color. But yeah, if you want to like shine and kind of stand out, yeah, go ahead and get the yellow version. But if you want to go a little stealth, a little under the radar, get the black version. I honestly think that's probably going to be the one to go with. Besides that, there's a couple of techs on the camera. There's the lightning bolt as the flasher. That looks pretty freaking sweet. And then there's the 3 camera array on the side towards the left. Pretty much an S20 FE. Like, honestly, I think this looks... If you take out all of the little design aspects and drawings and Poco logos and things like that, is it back plastic or is it glass? But either way, it looks a lot like an S20 FE. And I think that's a pretty good look actually, because it looks simple, especially the one that's the black. It looks simple. It looks like a phone. And it may be one of those phones where you see them on IKEA as like a sample phone or something like that. It looks kind of like one of those phones, which is actually pretty good. I don't think that's bad at all. But those of you that are like super into like the whole gaming look, yeah, you might be a little bit disappointed, but just get the yellow version and then you'll stand out for sure. But on the black version, honestly, I think for the people that just want like top end specs, good bang for buck, yeah, the black version looks really freaking sweet. So I think this phone is great, but I really would have liked it to have the microSD expansion. For the price, I think this is a good price for the flagship killer phones because it does have the highest end chip for the generation, and for $600 to $700 depending on when and where you get it, I think the price is good. But there are a few things to expect when it comes to these phones. The first thing is that it's going to be support and updates. Mainly, there isn't going to be any. Or if there are, it's going to be very few and far in between, unless I am wrong. Feel free to comment down below and let me know. I'm not saying you should go get the flagships and pay an arm and a leg, because I did that. And for the most experience of owning the latest, greatest device, it lasts for a good month or two while you're the king of the hill. And then the next device comes up and you're back to plebeian status. So in my book, might as well be a plebeian to begin with, or get last year's motto and experience the high life without having to break the bank most of the time. If you're at a last gen flagship experience, you could swing for something like a Note 20 Ultra. If you're a fan of the S22 Ultra, it's about the same price as the 256 gig version of the Poco F4, but you have last 2 years gen chipset, Snapdragon 865 Plus, and I don't think this phone is part of the 4-year update from Samsung, so you might be in a lose-lose situation for you. If you swing for the S21 Ultra, it's pretty much up there, $750 for a 256 gig version. It's pretty much the same thing as an F4 but with last gen specs, but you do get 4 years of update, which is probably going to be more like 3 or 2 or less depending on when you're watching this video. So here's what I think. I think the X3 Pro is honestly the phone to get because it has microSD, it has headphone jack, a chipset that's in theory should not overheat as much, and it costs about half the price of the 256 gig version, and the X3 Pro is already the 256 gig version, at least the one that I linked down below. So I'll put the link down below, it's that like button for you to check out. Honestly, I think this is where the money is at, but if you want the best chipset at the time and you don't care about losing microSD, then more power to you, get this phone. If you're new, click subscribe, the bell, thumbs up, comment for more content. You guys stay awesome.